Hello dear humans, Namaste, Sat Shri Akal and Adab to all of you. I would like to share my thoughts on the incident that took place on Republic Day in Delhi during the tractor parade. Now there were protests happening in Maharashtra and down south here in Bangalore where I put up. In Bangalore, there was police deployment as well as water cannon trucks that were in place, but there was no violence that broke out. There was no violence that broke out here because nobody was provoked by the police. Now, the police here in Bangalore did not do lathi charge on us, they did not beat the elders. They did not fire tear gas shells on peaceful protesters. They did not use water cannons on us. They did not fire bullets. And at midnight, they did not place barricades on the very route that the police themselves approved of. So this meant that the next day during the parade, we did not have to break any barricades which could then be used by the police against us to justify them using violence on peaceful protesters, which by the way was very much the case in Delhi. Please head to Shivam Patil's IGTV where he has shared his first-hand eyewitness account of what really went down during the tractor parade at Tikri border, while he got reports from Singhu border as well. So here for the Bangalore tractor parade, there were people who came from all different parts of Karnataka. They took trains especially to come down here. They also drove their tractors to join us for this movement. So we were essentially people of different faiths, different colors, different regions and professions in one movement. So kindly and maturely, please stop maligning Punjab and the Sikhs as if this is their issue alone. I specifically want to address three things. One is the Nishan Sahib, which I will be addressing in this video. In the second part, I'm going to talk about arms because we did see footage of Nihang Singh's, holding the sword, which is also called the Shastar. We also did see footage of police using tear gas, which is a chemical weapon, and also firing bullets on protesters, out of which there is 1 reported death and 2 reported critical injury. In the third part, I will talk about the media and its role in steering the narrative in the wrong direction. Now, the Nishan Sahib is the flag of the Sikh community. It stands for sovereignty and inclusivity. Now we must know that Sikhism is born out of a revolution. It is an egalitarian faith. One of the core principles of Sikhism is to stand up to injustice and to resist tyranny and oppression. So this is the khanda which is on the Nishan Sahib or on the flag of the Sikh community. Now blue and orange are, by the way, the colors of the Bana or the traditional uniform of the Khalsa force or the Nihang Singhs. The Khalsa force, which was formed by Guru Gobind Singh Ji, the 10th Guru of the Sikhs. Now, where do we see the Nishan Sahib? We see the Nishan Sahib on every Gurudwara of the world and also on the langar vans that go around from place to place giving people free food. So whether you go to the Gurudwara and eat the food that is given from the community kitchen for free to everybody irrespective of their caste or creed, or you just stay at your place and there would be a langar van that would come to you to serve you the food. Now these are the shastar or the weapons or arms that were used by the Sikhs when they fought on the battlefield. As we know, Sikhism is a martial establishment. This one is the Gol Chakar. This is a sharp blade. This in the center, this is what is seen on every Gurdwara. Now here we see 2 swords. There are 2 swords because the 6th Guru, Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji, introduced the concept of Miri Piri. So one meant spiritual authority and the other is the worldly or the temporal authority. So he said that everybody must be an all-rounder. You must be spiritual as well as perform your worldly duties. So this khanda is what is present on Nishan Sahib, which is the flag of the Sikh community. I'd like to specify that Punjab is geographically located in such a way that it was very easy for people to invade. So whether it was the Anglos or the Mughals, so it was the Sikhs who stepped up to the invaders or the oppressors or the tyrants. Right? So these were the shastar or the weapons that they used. Now, when we look at this, and if we are unaware of what it really stands for, we might feel intimidated for somebody who is ignorant. Right? That's because our brain naturally makes associations with a weapon being associated with harm or danger. But I'd like to explain that a weapon is something that's neutral. Arms are neutral. So it really depends on the intention with which one uses it that determines what it really is, whether it's good or it's evil. I shall place this on my table with due respect. I do not mean to offend anybody. If I have made a mistake, please forgive me and please tell me how I could have done better. Now, on the battlefield, the Sikhs never initiated the battle, so this was one of the things that they followed in the war discipline. They never initiated the battles, they never attacked the enemy on his or her back. They never attacked somebody who was running away from them, the enemy who was running away from them. Guru Gobind Singh Ji appointed Bhai Kanhaiya to give water to the enemies who were injured in the war, because he then saw them simply as humans, which is in line with his line, recognize the whole human race as one, which is also the line or the motto of Khalsa Aid, which is run by Ravi Singh Khalsa. The other thing is that Guru Gobind Singh Ji's arrow was dipped in gold because he felt that the family of the enemy, who he then saw as simply as a human, the family would be able to sell that gold and pay for a decent funeral. So when we consider the intentions with which one uses arms, the Sikhs in the battlefield, for example, they never intended to go and conquer land or treasure. Their intention was protection of the people who were being tormented by the tyrants or the invaders, and also in self-defense. So they used arms for protection of the weak, for those who could not defend themselves, and also for self-defense. So essentially the same arm can be used either with an intention to protect someone or to defend oneself, whether one is being raped or there's a mob coming for someone in a genocide or a riot scenario, or with an intention to attack somebody innocent, the way we see the police attacking innocent and peaceful protesters. I lived for a decade in Oman, and the localites there, or the Omanis, they carry a khanjar with them, which is very similar to the kirpan that the Sikhs carry. This khanjar also symbolizes sovereignty, and we felt extremely safe there. Oman is an Islam country, and there have never been riots or genocides based on religion whatsoever. Now, on the Red Fort, the national flag was not removed. The Nishan Sahib was placed on an empty pole and at a level which was lower than the national flag. We glorify the Nishan Sahib when the Sikh soldiers hold their flag at the borders while giving their lives for the country. We also glorify the Nishan Sahib when we see a Gurdwara and go to eat food from there, or when we see the langar stalls on the road serving food. Especially during COVID, a lot of people reported that when they saw Nishan Sahib from a distance, they would feel safe because they knew that they now had shelter and that they would not go hungry. But why do we turn a blind eye to those incidents when the non-minority extremists have desecrated and vandalized the holy sites of minorities like the churches, mosques and gurdwaras and placed their flags there? In fact, there is footage that shows police and army officials disrespecting the national flag, and there's no action taken against them, which makes it very clear that it's privilege that speaks louder. The Red Fort belongs to all. Placing the Nishan Sahib without removing the national flag on an empty pole at a level lower than the national flag with due respect makes a statement that this nation belongs to all. It does not belong only to a specific majority, and that we can all coexist despite our differences. Speaking of Republic Day, when the Constitution was revealed in Article 25B, Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism came under the umbrella of Hinduism, which contradicts the idea of secularism. So I would like to question the fierce nationalists of this country. Do you really agree with that idea of secularism? I urge everybody to please read the history of regions and the communities and the minorities of how they have been oppressed over time and again. And right now, the need of the hour is allyship. We do not need ego. We need unity more than ever. And when we question, we really need to ask ourselves, introspect, and dive deep and ask ourselves if we are operating from compassion or vindictiveness. I keep saying this time and again that if we do not form our own opinions and if we operate with a herd mentality, then we are still not independent. And I'll say this now, that if we do not learn from history, then we are condemned to repeat it.